So I finished an augmented reality app for iOS using ARKit and RealityKit and skipping Reality Composer. And it sounded like a simple idea. What I wanted to do was just make a basic AR app where I'm putting like little chiclets, little things stacked up high, and each of them is attached to a sound, and each of them has an image. And when you tap one, it'll begin to spin and play that sound. And as long as the sound is playing, it'll spin. If you tap it while it's spinning, it'll stop and it'll fade out the sound. Or if one of them is playing and you tap another one, that one will start playing and spinning and the other one will stop. It was a little trickier than I thought in ARKit and RealityKit, but took a little bit, but figured it out. And the code is up on GitHub for you to use if you like. And I'm going to do a little walkthrough of the important parts that are not just built in like they might be in Unity. Okay, let me show you what this thing looks like. So you tap the green square to place this on a desk or a table. And then here I've tapped this purple image, which starts to spin and play the sound. And then I've tapped the one on top, and you see that it's begun spinning and playing a sound, and the purple one had stopped playing. There's some simulated shadows on the desk. We'll go over that. And this is showing I've tapped the lowermost chiclet, and it's begun to spin and play its sound. And now the final one, which is, I think this was from Maryland. Okay, let me give you a quick walkthrough of how this code works and the couple of parts that it took me a little bit to get right. So this code is totally free and available here on GitHub. I'll put the link in the description. Bill Moriarty /field drops. That's the cute name we came up with the day we had to put it out to the App Store. There's a just simple README here and a YouTube demo accompanying this to show you what it's supposed to look like when it's working. This is the same demo that I had to upload to Apple's App Store. So here I have the live camera. So you see there's no occlusion with this app, and this is breaking the augmented reality illusion. But here are the 4 drops. Nobody's playing right now on these. And I set up the structure of the code based around mainly 2 files. So I made something called AR work. This is, to me, one chiclet. This is supposed to represent one piece of art. So one square which has an image and plays a sound. I'd like in the future to try changing these into videos instead of still images. But so each one of these AR work, this has a material and a mesh, and then it's assigned an anchor entity, which is going to be its parent, and as a sound player, and then a Boolean, which I found I needed to know whether or not the thing is playing rather than just calling the built-in sound player. And animate update subscription, cancelable. So we'll get down to that later. But so when each of these is initialized, it's passed in a material, a mesh, an anchor entity, which is the parent entity, a name, a sound URL, which relates to one of these files over here, and its initial position. And then they each have the same animate function. And the way this works you have to pass in the entity to be animated, the duration, which is how long you want the animation to take to complete, and then loop, which is a Boolean. You know what? I don't think I need that anymore. I bet I could take that out. So when you're passing in this transform, the way this works is you're going to be doing the product of these 2 quaternions. So the basic idea is to say, where is it currently? Where do I want to move this to? Where do I want to transform that entity to? And since all we're trying to do is rotate about the y-axis, so if I tap this one up top, let me just cut this sound in case that's being recorded. So what we're doing over a period of the animation time, and the animation time is duration 3 seconds. So what we're doing over 3 seconds is we're moving this, we're moving this, we're entity.move, moving this from one quaternion position to another quaternion position. And when you're doing this, some of the things you have access to are a couple of animation choices. I think I have ease in out because that looked the best to me. But I think you could choose, you can choose linear, ease in, ease out, default, and I think default is linear. What I found was when I did linear, which is a really nice continual rotation, when you then tap on it to stop it, just like that, if I did a linear, it just halted immediately, and I found that didn't look as nice as using ease out, which is going to cause it to slow down like this. But so what the tricky thing was is in this animation function, you need to subscribe to the animation, and when it's done, when one animation is complete, so 3 seconds later, you have to do something. And so what I'm choosing to do is simply call that animation again. So the animation moves like this and says, oh, it's complete. Animate again from beginning to where? To the transformer I want it to move to. And so it rotates. I can't do that with my wrist, but it rotates again all the way around. So this way, each of them have an animation. So that one is just completed. It's subscription. It's going again. It's subscribed again. It's going again. So it's not one long animation. It's one very brief animation, which continues to happen so long as the sound is playing or until I tap on another one of the chiclets. You'll see this one has now stopped. And this one will continue until I tap on another one or until I tap on the purple one, just like that. So this is everything you need for the animation right here, function animate. Let me pop over to content view. So this uses Swift UI, but as you see, if you watch the really good videos by Ryan, who I got to meet at AWE, his channel is called Reality School. He shows you how to do the Swift UI wrapper, which is required since AR views don't have, I think they don't seem to have basic Swift UI representation yet. So you have to use UI view representable and return a view, right? So I'm making my own container, returning UI view representable. So you can make an AR view and you can return that AR view. And if we pop up to the top of this, very top of this Swift UI body, where is it? There we go, body. There's only one thing happening, AR view container. A simple Z stack and an AR view container. Z stack is front to back. I'm using that with the hope that this gets cooler and more complicated in the future of the app. But right now, it's just this one view. Let me see, is there anything else that you need to know? A lot of this, if you're used to Swift UI and doing some AR view, this is kind of the same. I'm using the focus square package that someone else created. They pulled, I think, from Apple's original thing to do the initial coaching of where to place this when you put it onto a table. I realize I'm not going into full detail for everybody. Sorry, this isn't a 100% tutorial, but let me know if that's what you prefer, and I will go through each line of code one at a time. But the way this is working is when a tap comes in, we're going to skip all this because this is if it's not even placed, we're going to place it there. Assuming the AR content has been placed and someone has tapped, then we're simply finding which of these 4 current items has been tapped. And we're calling a function called setTappedObject. Set what was tapped to the hit entity. And then this probably could be more efficient, but we're going through each of these 4 and calling a function I built in AirWork called ActOnTap. I bet I would probably prefer using Grand Central Dispatch to do like a message queue to say who was tapped rather than iterating through each of these and doing an ActOnTap. But it works, and that wasn't the point of this. I wanted to see if I could do this rotation and this sound playing along with fading the sound in and out. So this is the coaching overlay. This is kind of boilerplate from Apple. But let me pop over here and show you the sound player. So back in ARWork, along with the animate function that they each have this act on sound, act on tap, and act on sound. So there doesn't seem to be a built-in function to Apple's AV player here to say, hey, AV player, if you're playing, I want you to fade out for a few seconds and then stop that sound. So I had to build that in a little bit with a couple different functions. So let me pop over to this one first right here. So if we're finding out that the current sound is playing, like this chiclet sound is playing, I want to fade it out and stop it. So I'm going to set the sound player level to 0 and give it a fade duration. So I'm giving it a volume of 0 and telling it to do that over 2 seconds. Now, after those 2 seconds, the volume is down to 0, but the sound is still playing. And I'm going to set the sound is playing toggle. So this is our Boolean we have up top. Otherwise, if the sound wasn't playing, right, I call stop kind of as a safety, because in something I did a couple years ago, I found I needed to call stop to cause it to rewind, set the playback position to 000. So I have that in here. Maybe this isn't required, but it is there. Set volume to 0. This is another safety. I wouldn't want to just start blasting it at full volume, even though these are birds. And then we set play. We begin to animate, and we fade up the sound. So set the volume to 1. You could think of this as 100%. And the fade duration there, I chose the same, 2. So what we're doing is if it's not playing, stop that sound, set it to the beginning, set the volume to 0, start playing, and fade it up to 100% of the volume over 2 seconds. Begin our animation. So really, a lot of content view is just initializing each of these pieces of artwork. I initially thought this would be kind of an art piece. So this is why you see first piece of art, second piece of art. An obvious improvement would be pop all these in a folder, iterate over the folder, bring them all in one at a time in a simple loop rather than doing these explicitly. But each of the chiclets is created here. So a simple material, load the image, which you want to use as the texture. And these images can be found under assets. So Belize _1. I was lucky enough to go to Belize and recorded these sounds, a couple of these sounds there. And if we pop under assets, we'll see Belize 1, Belize 2. These are photos from the places where I recorded these sounds. Belize 2, paddleboarding. That is not a picture. So the paddleboarding was in Virginia, but I think this picture is from Maryland. And then this is some rain. Picture I took outside of my house. So back to content view. So this is the first piece of art. And this is its initial position. 0 on the X, 0 on the Z, 0.1 on the Y. This is the first most bottom item here. In the second, you'll see a 0.2. This is the purple one. 0.3 is this fall leaves we have. And 0.4 is here. And then each of them is added to an array. And then we have spotlight. I really wanted shadows, and I actually talked to Apple, and I had a lot of trouble, and I couldn't get the shadows the way I wanted. But let me see if I can do this. So if I make this one spin, no, let me make this one spin. Can we see shadows? You can see it a little better in the YouTube video than you can see it here. I wonder what happens if I do this. Is it any better? Is it any better? No, it's really hard to see. You can see a little bit more with the larger ones. Yeah, you probably very barely see this moving around. It'll depend on the kind of room you do the thing in. But basically, I couldn't get what I wanted. So I'm faking a little bit. So what we're doing here is way up top, creating an occlusion material, receive dynamic lighting true, and then just playing with that until it looks kind of like a shadow. Let me see what happens if we pop an iPad underneath. Yeah, you could see. See, it's essentially just a kind of translucent white circle, which is the base here. And then each object, which is spinning, occludes some of this. And how does that even happen? That happens because there's a spotlight placed above everybody right here. So spotlight, color gray, intensity. I played with this a little until I just finally got something that kind of looked like a shadow for me. So that is it. That's everything you need for this app. I'm going to try to do one of these a month. Create something with ARKit and RealityKit because I want to and it's fun. And put it out on GitHub for anyone to use and make a video for it. All right, I hope someone finds this helpful. Let me know if you have any questions about why I did something a certain way or how it works, or if you want me to explain anything a little more clearly. All right, take it easy. Bye.